Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Age of Beauty podcast. With us today is Jean Ketcham, who is the founder of Aging But Dangerous, this amazing community, 200,000 strong on Facebook that you have created. And we're so excited for this conversation.
I am too.
Yes.
I'm very excited.
So thanks for being here. As we get started, I wanted to take a moment to introduce Jean. And Jean Ketcham, first of all, is 85 years old, looking fabulous, and she's just getting started. As the bold voice behind Aging But Dangerous, she's on a mission to prove that aging is not about the body, it's about the soul. The confidence, the attitude, the fire that comes with embracing every year, every lesson, and every inch of who we are. We are stepping into the spotlight, fully confident, fully empowered, and absolutely unstoppable. With her signature sass, which you'll get to hear, unfiltered truth, and fearless spirit, Jean rallies women to ditch the rules, embrace adventure, and live life unapologetically. Through her book, calendar, talks, and 200,000 strong Facebook community, she's redefining what it means to grow older. Yay. So excited to have you here.
And I am older, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So can you tell us more, just a little bit more about yourself or about like your family, your hobbies, things that you like to do?
Well, I think the one thing about myself is that I've always owned my own business. You know, I'm kind of from that generation of women that we were like one of the first ones to work out of the home and still have a family and have a career. So I've always owned my own business, and that's prepared me for a lot of things. And I really haven't had time for a lot of hobbies because my hobby is really just working, and I've always worked with women. Women are my go-to people.
Yeah,
same.
You know, from all ages. And so I've just, you know, I've had a radio show, I've done all kinds of things, just really worked with women, even in college, in high school. I just have always had friends that would, you know, come and talk to me about things, or, you know, clothes, or about, you know, boyfriends or whatever. I've always had that in my life, so this is so natural for me to. And I did start Aging But Dangerous with a good friend of mine. So, but she dropped out after 7 years, and I kept it going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And tell us a little more about Aging But Dangerous, like what that community is all about, what you do when you're together.
Well, we started out as, we had monthly events. We started with, I'm a skydiver, I love to skydive, and we had a martini jump skydive. I love martinis. and it's funny because, and we had our first skydive, we had 107 women, and we had red t-shirts then with Aging But Dangerous on them, and they were 107 women jumping out of an airplane all day long from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. I mean, it was so exciting. We had news people there. It was on, you know, it was everywhere, on all over the country. They were broadcasting it. And we made sure they were 50. It was always 50 and over. Now, back then, we're talking 18 years ago. So that 50-year-old has changed a lot since then. But back then, we started it because I started when I was 69. My good friend was 8 years younger, so she was 61 or something. But we always had a lot of younger friends in their 50s. And they were, back then, their kids were, when you think about it, 18 years ago, their kids, they'd had their children earlier than now in your generation, where the kids were off to college. They were empty nesters pretty much at 50. Now that 50-year-old still has kids at home. My daughter's 57, and she just still has a child, you know, a teenager at home. So that we saw that they were just not getting out of the house and doing anything. They were so traumatized about getting older and turning 50. So we started out with the Martini Jump Skydive, and then we had a big fashion show that was dispelling the myths of fashion, because back then they would always say you have to wear your skirts a certain length, you can't wear red lipstick, you can't, look, I've got on red lipstick.
Yep.
All this stuff that, I could go on with that forever. But anyway, and then we went to a gun range to teach women that wanted to learn how to shoot a gun, or learn more about the gun that they had. And then we went to Smitten Kitten. We had seminars on vibrators and sex, and we did a big seminar on hitting the sheets after 50 and all that. So that we did a lot of different events and talked about incontinence, talked about all kinds of things. For information. It was really important to give them information, and we did it every month. Well, then COVID hit, and when COVID hit, it affected all of us, and then it became more online, and that's when I started doing the videos all the time, and I think I was doing them even almost every day.
Yeah.
And so now now I'm speaking and doing things like that. So it's more of a movement now than it was. We were all getting together in Minnesota, but we have people from all over the country. We have about 49 different countries.
Yeah.
So, but now it's more online and it's more of a movement.
Awesome.
Join the movement.
Yes, we are all about this.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I feel like the combination of Aging But Dangerous and the work we're looking to do with Age of Beauty is just supporting women in embracing this part of their lives and loving it as best they can, and recognizing that that's a choice they get to make. Like they get to have fun and live dangerously and live their best years.
And I just got chills when you said that, because it's so true. And here you both are 40, 45, and to know, what is so exciting to me at 85 is that you all know that, you know that you need to embrace life now, that you need to be more cognizant of, your kids, and as they grow up and they're, you really are embracing so many things that back when I was younger and my generation, you just didn't think about that as much.
But you did. You were a trailblazer
I did.
for
absolutely.
women,
Yeah.
all the women that have been a part of the community, women like us who can stand here today and say, wait, like this has to be better, different, and we connect with people like you who blaze the trail. So I love it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I do feel like women our age maybe don't feel how we feel, which is why we started this podcast. I feel like getting ahead of this information is really important.
Yes.
We don't want to find ourselves 70
Right.
and wonder,
Right.
but we want to have this attitude and this mindset
Yes.
and this information now so that we can continue to feel that way, because over and over we're seeing when we meet people your age that are as vibrant as you are and have so much energy in life and are not afraid to be old,
Right.
it gives us so much. It just
To look forward to.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it really
Whereas
does.
before, a lot of young women just dread that. It's
Yes.
like the 57-year-old I told you about.
Yeah.
I dread getting older. Well, why do you dread getting older? Because there's so many exciting things
Yeah.
and you guys are aware of it now, and you can tell young women any age, that you're grasping it. You're doing it.
Yeah.
It's so important what you're doing because you are so young.
Yeah.
But we need to have inspiring people to look towards to help us get there, and to inspire other people too, to understand, like, we can sit here and say this, but we're 45, right?
Yeah.
It means so much more, coming from you with has more experience and has been doing this for so long.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I certainly have. But
Well, and along those lines, you're curious. So you have a unique ability to sit at your age of 85 years old and offer so much wisdom to us, to your community, to our listeners today. So I'm curious, like, what are the things we need to, that we get to look forward to about 85, and then the things that we need to know about, like, 70s or 80s, anything that stands out to you?
well, I'll tell you one thing. It's really funny, but we had a 90-year-old tell us that when we had a radio show. I had a radio show for 4 years. called Aging But Dangerous. But and she said, you know, you lose your pubic hair, so you don't have to get waxed anymore.
Okay.
You lose all the hair on your legs.
Okay.
And of course, you start getting, you know, the chin hairs, which is like so weird.
So what's up with the chin hair? So like, why is it that?
I don't know. I have never figured that out, but it is so weird. But anyway, so, you know, that is just, you know, that's fabulous. And you just get, there's things that happen along the way. My doctor said, this is in my book, and I love this. She said to me, as you age, when things are happening to your body, you have to own it. You own it, you deal with it, and you move on.
Yeah.
So I have had fecal incontinence. That happens when you get older.
Okay.
To some women, and a lot of women don't even know about it because
Yeah.
their mothers haven't told them, or their mothers didn't, you know. So, but it is an age thing, and it can be more than just an age thing, but it is an age thing. So I have to wear a pad every day, and yes, that's frustrating, and yes, that's not, took a long time to get comfortable with, but I just have to. So what that is, you know, I just own the fact that this happens to me, and then I deal with it.
Yeah.
And then I just move on to something else. I mean, it's just, you can't dwell on these things because, you know, it's like you can't dwell on the wrinkles. You can't dwell on any, I wanted to say negative things, but they're not really negative things. They're just more inconveniences, you know, and you can't make a big deal out of them because then you're going to just drag yourself right down to the bottom. You know, have you ever heard of that? I mean, there's so many times when I turned 50, I was on this boat with my friend, and I was driving the boat and everything, and one of my other friends was taking a picture of me, and I said, don't take a picture of me, you know, I look terrible. And he said, oh, shut up. He said, 10 years from now, you'll look at that picture and you think you look great. Well, guess what? Yeah, I look back at that picture when I turned 50, and oh gosh, you know, I look pretty good.
Yeah.
But the sad thing of it is I didn't enjoy that when I looked good at 50 because I thought I looked terrible. Well, I didn't think I looked terrible, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
we all do that, you know. You've got to really, and that's what I think you guys are, the message that you're giving out is that, yeah, I mean, you're still young, so young, but you're more aware of what is going on, and that message you're giving to other women, young women, because you have to just pay attention to what's happening.
Yeah, and a big thing I heard you say in there is just appreciating what is.
Yeah.
Like, you can't change some of this shit. You just have
Right.
to accept it,
Yeah.
deal with it, move on.
Yeah.
But also, like, what are you focused on? You know, are you focused on everything that you wish you could change but have no control over? Or are you just appreciating what you do have, your energy, your ability to hang out with friends, your ability to drive a boat on your 50th birthday and look amazing even though you don't feel it fully.
Right.
And we even get to feel that for ourselves as women by what we choose.
Right. And just, and look at the positive part of everything.
Yeah.
Just like I said when I drove out here, I'm so glad I can still drive. I'm so glad at 85 that I can still wear 2-inch heels.
Yeah.
I mean, do you know how exciting that is?
That's very exciting.
It's like, you know, you pull out all those good things as you go along. You know, even at your age, you know, you just like pull it out and have fun with it and appreciate it. And, you know, when I was 80 years old, I was putting, you know, little rhinestones on my nails. And now I'm doing the press on nails because I think they're so much fun and I have so much fun with them.
Your nails look great.
They
Well,
do.
thank you. And I put some silver ones on 2 weeks ago, and I'm just like, you know, my cowboy boots I have fun with. You just need to have fun as you're aging, as you're getting older. You just need to have fun at all these stages and make your fun. You know, my whole, you know, mission is, you know, having, as you age, is you age with, you know, fun, spirit, and style. Style not meaning clothes. Style meaning being authentic. Wear what you want to wear. Be who you are. I always say, I've always dressed the same ever since high school. I've always been a little flamboyant and lots of jewelry and everything. Always been that way. But, you know, you could put me with the way I am here and then put somebody right next to me that has ragged jeans on and a gunny sack, and we'd be equal.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because that's who she is, and this is who I am.
Yeah.
You don't try to be somebody that you're not. You don't try to copy somebody because they look good, because that's not you.
Right.
You know, and so it's so important to know yourself and to, you know who you are and what you want, and to, be that person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Along those lines, you have allowed other women to step into their authentic selves and beauty with this work that I know is really close to your heart, which is this Fierce and Fabulous calendar that you started a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And you're looking to do the next edition. And for those of you watching on YouTube, we do have a copy of the calendar. This is the 2024 calendar, and
It's Tastefully Nude.
Tastefully Nude. And so the women in this calendar, including Jean, are all ages 70 and up?
Yeah, well, I have my token 50-year-old.
Your token 50-year-old.
Because she had these fabulous tattoos everywhere. I wanted to show her tattoos.
Yeah.
But most of them are 70 and 80.
Okay.
Well, some 60s, but it's about women that it's the whole purpose of the calendar is that it's not about the body, it's about your attitude. The body is just the body. You get older, you get some wrinkles, you get some flabbiness, you get some whatever, but it's your attitude that counts. It's having that attitude, and that's, my dad lived to be 105, healthy as could be, and he had the best attitude. He was so positive, and I learned that from him. It's the attitude is everything.
Yeah.
You just find the good things and concentrate on all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and you kind of mentioned, sorry.
Go right ahead.
You kind of mentioned that it has really helped these women see
Helped
themselves
so many.
differently,
Yeah.
and some of them seeing themselves as beautiful for the first time.
Yeah.
And then even making a big difference to girls that are 15.
Yes.
I mean, can you tell us a little bit about
Well,
how
the teenagers, and I had a couple of 15-year-olds that said this helped them so much, because if older women can get out and show their bodies like this in this calendar, then they shouldn't be self-conscious about their bodies. My granddaughter, who's in college, all of her friends bought a calendar. They had the calendar hanging in their dorm rooms, and she called, and I didn't do a calendar last year. She called and she said, "Grandma, you've got to do another calendar. All my friends want one." So the young women, young teenagers and everything up to 90, they appreciated that fact. And the men that bought the calendars, everybody, out of 700 calendars, my daughter said, was there anybody that came out of the woodwork, that was like some guy that was like not nice? And I said, no, not one single criticism. Everybody knew what that calendar was about.
Yeah.
It was about our whole attitude and how we age and what we think about ourselves. It wasn't about how we look.
Yeah.
I'm not into that, how you look.
Yeah.
And I bet that those women, when you look at the calendar, they look so happy.
Yeah.
They look so beautiful. Like afterwards, did they just say, "Oh my gosh"?
Oh yeah, they loved it. It changed their lives almost, because they could see how good they looked.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the little tummies and the little everything, they could see the beauty in those pictures. Of course, a lot of it has to do with my photographer, Annie Marie Photography. But no photoshopping going on. But she had the right lighting. She made all of us look so good. But yeah, it did a lot for these women. Every woman in that calendar had a story to tell that has had some really hard things happen, but they just they bared it all.
Yeah.
And it was so tastefully done. I was, all the TV stations picked it up and everything, because it was tasteful. It wasn't, it wasn't anything that was just terrible,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are beautiful.
they were nude,
They are.
but still
Yeah.
roses covering.
Things very
Yeah.
systematically placed. They are. They're beautiful photos.
Yeah.
And it's cool that, you have ask people to do something that's kind of dangerous. It's vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's putting themselves out there.
Yeah.
And then what they get to see through that is their authentic beauty and who
Yeah.
they are as women, no matter their age.
I know.
It's freaking powerful stuff, Jean.
I know
know.
it. I know. I gotta keep
So
doing
cool.
it. And then when I stop, you guys can take it over. Because I think it's important. I just,
Yeah.
I've got this GoFundMe page, and I really need to raise some money in the next month. But I think we're going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah,
Again.
and there's a lot of upfront expense that goes into doing this for the women who are all volunteering their time, and you want to be able to market it and have the beautiful photos. And so if this is something that you resonate with, you believe in the mission of what Jean's doing, we will have the GoFundMe details available in the show notes. And would love for you to be a part of helping making this magic happen for her and for the women that get featured.
Absolutely. And we're going to include a link too if you want to purchase the 2024 calendar.
It'll be 2026
when that comes out
for the next one.
Yeah. So
we were at an event last night, and there happened to be a woman there, Carolyn, who is 92 years old. And like, what was your big takeaway from just like chatting with her and getting to know her a little bit last night?
Well, I feel like it was very similar as to what Jean is saying. She said it's all about how you feel. She's like, you just have to, I don't know, what did she say? It was more like, I don't know why I can't talk. She just said it's about your mindset.
Yep.
She said you just have to choose to be happy, and she has been living, I think, about 25 years without her husband. And, she's like, yeah, I just choose to be happy. And I said, well, do you eat a certain way, or do you walk every day? Nope, I just do what I want. I eat what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just, it just made me think about the statistic that Casey shared a few times about from this Harvard study, right? That if you believe and you're happy and you choose to be happy, and you choose to not dwell on the aging, you can live another 7.5 years. And I felt like that statistic was right here in my face, like sitting right here. She looked beautiful. She didn't even look old. She didn't have any mobility issues. Like she wasn't hard of hearing. She just didn't look or act like an old person. Yeah. You know what I mean?
There's one thing I learned when I was 35 years old, and I learned it from this woman that was in her 50s. And it was, if you don't like the way your life's going, then change it. You're the only one that can do that. And that's why I raised my daughter. And it's kind of like, I can't change your life for you. If you're unhappy, one of my friends just got divorced, and she's 72, and I said, good for you, congratulations. And somebody said, how can you congratulate somebody who's getting a divorce at 72? And I said, because she should have gotten it 20 years ago. She's been miserable. But it's like your life, you have to, it's all about you, your attitude, the way you feel about yourself, the way you feel about life. You're the one that has to change your life if you're not happy.
Such a simple saying, but so powerful.
Yeah.
Really powerful.
Yeah. And it can be hard to do that if you're in the position of being
can
unhappy.
It can be
you
money.
just say, well, change your life or change this. And it's like, well, that would take a lot.
Well, it's just the way I look at it. It's okay, I like divorce. She couldn't get divorced because of, the money situation and everything. So what you have to do, what I believe you have to do, I can't cut on my bandbox, because you don't have to do anything. Yeah. But, you just need to change it, slowly, or change if you can't get divorced, okay, like she couldn't get divorced, but she could work on her attitude and making her life a little better, or getting out and doing, just do something for yourself. I came up with that. Honestly, this is the truth. I came up with that whole saying a long time before the airlines did. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of someone else. And I knew that as a child. Yeah. And I have always known that. And it's so true. You've got, and my friends used to say, I think you're really being selfish. I think it's really selfish. I'm like, no. If I don't take care of myself, and if I don't put myself first, I will start feeling sorry for myself. I'll start getting, unhappy. I'll start, maybe my health, all kinds of things. You've got to put yourself first. I don't care how many kids you have. I don't care if you have a sick husband. You've got to put yourself first.
Yeah. And that is something a lot of women struggle with.
Yeah, they do.
Because we have big hearts, we're very selfless, we're caretakers, we can do a lot. Not that we necessarily should, but we're capable of working or having a career, raising a family, being loving wives.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that everyone else needs to be taken care of and we come somewhere second, third, or last in that equation. No, it's not sustainable. And I do feel that there is starting to be a little bit of a paradigm shift around that.
I do too.
Of women recognizing they're freaking tired. They're burnt out. They've given too much for too long in a way that doesn't feel authentic.
Right.
And it's not selfish at all.
No.
But there you are again, trailblazing that idea way before your time.
Way before.
And yeah, that's what we love.
Because when the airlines came out with that, put the oxygen mask on first, and I thought, can I say a bad word?
Yes, of course.
I thought, God damn it, I said that years ago because I didn't say put the oxygen mask on, but fill that vessel. Fill that vessel up, and then you can give it out to other people. You can like ration it out, but fill it up for yourself. Because make yourself happy. It's and my daughter. It's kind of like she hasn't learned that lesson as much either, but I sure tried. But
sometimes you do have to learn it the hard way.
Yeah.
But you're right. If we don't fill our own vessel or put our own oxygen mask on, we can't be our best selves for everyone else. So it's a loving thing for them too, to put ourselves first.
Yeah.
Because then we have more to give.
And then if you put yourself first, you love yourself more.
Yeah.
You do more you're going to be a happier person.
Yeah.
Just like my little rhinestones. That was so much fun, and it's just like, it's just be happy, love yourself. And you can't love yourself if you're doing everything for everyone else.
Totally.
You can still do everything for everyone else as long as you take care of yourself first.
Totally.
That's right.
Yeah.
Pamper yourself.
Yeah. So there's a quote that I heard from you a few years ago, and it's, "You are not your age, you are your energy."
Yeah.
And I dedicated a section of my book to that subject because it is an important one. And how I interpreted that, but I want to hear like where you learned that and how you've lived by that for yourself but how I interpret that is like, when we look at you, when we interact with you, we don't see your age. Like, we look in your eyes, we see your energy. Like, you come here, you're dressed to the nines, you're like ready to talk, you're here, you're showing up, you've got an energy about you. And I almost can't emphasize that enough to our listeners, that it doesn't matter what age you are. You get to choose your energy around what you're focusing on and what you're doing to put yourself first, things that just bolster who you are. But I'm curious for you, like, where that came from, that idea, because again, it's revolutionary. You're ahead of your time with all this stuff. But like, where that idea came to you, if you remember, and then how you've lived by that.
Well, I honestly don't know where it came from, but I know that, like when somebody says to me, like even now, I remember when I was 50, I went to I was in a doctor's office, and the nurse was, and she said, "You're 50?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, I don't know what 50 looks like, but you don't look it." And I'm like, "Yeah," but I was kind of like, that was so funny because like, well, what does 50 look like? It's like nobody knows really.
Yeah.
But so I always say, it's, I have the wrinkles, I have all this stuff, but it's the energy that they see, the energy is there. It's back like what with the calendar. It's not the body, it's not the wrinkles, it's not all that stuff, it's that energy. If you can keep that energy going, and of course that, you have to take care of yourself and be healthy and, and all that stuff, but it really has, I always say that to people. It's not, when they say you don't look your age, it's kind of like, well, I think I probably do look my age, but you see the energy before you see the age thing. It's like the energy comes through.
Yeah.
And now, I see young women like you guys, and I just like, for all I know, you could be 25 years old, you know, because I do see that energy and I just don't see the age at all. And it's just proven all the time. And so you just have to get that in your head that that's what you are. You know, you're like not that age that's going to bother you. If it bothers you, you're that energy that's coming through that is the important thing.
Yeah.
You need to keep that energy. So I don't even know where that came from, but I read a lot of my quotes and I'm like, yeah, it sounded pretty good.
Damn, I'm good.
Yeah, damn, I'm good. You know, but I just, you know, I don't know where they come from, but anyway, it's funny. But.
Well, I do understand that because there are a lot of people much younger than you that watch a lot of TV and don't go out a lot. Maybe just go to the grocery store. Yeah, are unhappy. Yeah. That energy is very low.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They just kind of do what they need to do, put around the house, whatever. Yeah. And oh my gosh, I can't even imagine you like plopping down on the sofa and watch TV all day, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're not, you know, if you're not happy, you know, it's like, you know, can I tell, or how are we doing on time?
We're doing great.
Yep.
Okay. We're out here on Lake Minnetonka, and is this Lake Minnetonka?
It is, yeah.
Okay, so my dad, he'd drive up here when he was even in his 90s, and he lived to be 105, healthy as could be and everything, but one time he loved going out on our boat, and we had this big boat on Minnetonka, and so the night, that was just what he just lived for, and so the night before the weatherman came on and said, you know, it's like 80% chance of rain tomorrow. And I said, Daddy, I don't think we're gonna be able to go out on the boat. I mean, 80%, you know, that's quite a bit, you know, the number. And he looked at me and he kind of winked and he said, well, let's concentrate on that 20%. And I'm like, yeah, right, you know, well,
sure enough.
Get up the next morning, sky is blue, not a cloud around, gorgeous, gorgeous day. And he looked at me and he said, see, I told you.
Oh my gosh,
you know?
I love that.
How old did you say you were at the time?
He was like 95 or something. I mean, he just, you know, he was just so optimistic. And, you know, that was his whole thing. You concentrate on that, you know, 20%. You don't think about that 80%.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So some of our podcast is on aging and some of it's on beauty. Yeah. We'll do one final question. What's your favorite beauty ritual that keeps you feeling best either on the inside or on the outside?
I have this serum that I found from this woman. She has a special
serum.
I do. And this woman, nobody really hardly knows about it, but it has done wonders for me. I've been using it now for, you know, probably just a couple of years. Totally changed my life. So I love that. I don't really take as good a care of myself as everybody thinks I do, but I just, that is just a really feel good, wonderful thing. It doesn't take away the wrinkles, but it softens them so they're not as deep.
Okay. Yeah. What is it?
Well, it's on my website.
Oh,
it's called Visual History, but it's on my website.
Okay. We'll add that to the show notes as well as all your Aging But Dangerous links for your shop site, your blog, your Instagram and YouTube handles. We'll have it all there and available for you, along with the GoFundMe information for the Fierce and Fabulous 2026 calendar. And we wanted to say a really, really heartfelt thank you to you, Jean. It's so fun talking with you. I love the conversation. I love what you're doing. And your mission is strong. Like, you're continuing with this work. You're passionate about it. And it's really cool to see how that's impacted you.
I hope I can do it for a long time. I always think, well, if Daddy was at 105, healthy up until the end, I've got a good 20 years left.
Absolutely.
You do. Amen.